Hey everyone, today we're talking about the 5 mistakes that happen 5 to 10 years before your retirement that can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you don't do these things the correct way. We're going to dive into it today, but stay tuned. And again, my name is Costanzo with Costanzo Financial Advisors. We're a boutique financial planning firm that help people retire and do all the stuff we're talking here on the screen here today. If you haven't subscribed to our channel already, definitely do so. Like the video if you like it overall. Let's dive into it. I want to start with the first mistake that we see going through this here is actually the health savings account. All right, so an HSA. So what is an HSA? The mistake here is that people don't do them. They're not aware of them. But what this is a health savings account. So what we're able to do here is for a family, all right, we're able to put money away, if you're single or for your family, and put it away for health care expenses down the road. Now, a family can put away $8,550 into this account every single year. And if you're over age 55, so it's not 50 for the catch up, but 55, you get an extra $1,000, all right, per person there that you can put in. So there's a catch up that you can get there as well, an extra $1,000 if you're over 55. Okay. Now, what this account does, one, when you put it in here, you get a tax deduction. Okay, so it kind of looks like your 401k. You put it in there and you don't pay taxes on that money when it goes in. But also, a pretty cool part about this, if it grows, like you invest it and it makes some money, you can use it tax-free down the line, right? So it's like the best of both worlds. It's like a 401k and a Roth, except you can only use it for medical expenses going forward. All right, so let's imagine like kind of a scenario here. You put some money away into your HSA, and 5, 10 years before your retirement, you can even do it earlier than that, you start putting some money away into here. Ideally, I mean, if you got to a point where you had, $50,000 that you put away for, maybe for 5, 7 years, we put this money away and we invested it. So we can invest it in the stock market. Let's say we put it, in the S&P 500 and say, we're going to grow this money. Well, let's say we don't need it, right? We kind of just cover medical bills, casually throughout there. But then the whole point is to have this account grow. So when you get to retirement, you have this bucket of money that you can now use for medical expenses down the line. So if we have a 55-year-old, over 10 years, put $50,000 in here. Now they're 65. And maybe they don't need this money yet. But 10 years goes by, they get to 75, okay? And they didn't touch any of this money for that whole entire time period. In 10 years, if their money's in the market, it should definitely double. If we're earning around like a 7% return a year, 7.2% to be exact, your money should double in 10 years. So this 50K might get to 100. And now what we could do, let's say at 75, we have some major medical stuff happening, all right? Maybe you need some surgery and some big medical expenses kind of come up. We can use this to pay for that, okay? Now, ideally, you might want to use it throughout your lifetime here, not just wait till you're 75. But I'm just going to show the kind of power of compounding money, where if you can get 50 grand in there by 55 and it doubles by 65, you can have all your health care covered, potentially for the rest of your life, with this HSA account. So if you're not doing one today, I strongly suggest you start doing one and start building that account up. This way you can use this money and you don't have to wait till your retirement age. You can use it when you're younger. You can put money in and then take money out for the expenses that same year. So it's a really powerful account that doesn't get used very often. That's something that you could actually utilize for yourself. Now, the second mistake that we see is taxes. Okay, so with taxes, and why is this kind of a big deal here? Most people before they retire have all their money where? In their 401k account. And a lot of that money, when we look at that, and a lot of this money in this 401k is all going to be taxed later on. So one thing you could actually look at doing, all right, instead of having all your money in pre-tax, you might want to look at doing the Roth portion of your 401k. Because what could happen here, if you have $1 million all in your pre-tax accounts and all your money is taxable when you go ahead and retire, that might put you in a rough spot. Because if all your money is taxable, between 40, 50 grand out of our 401k, and it's all taxed, now other things are going to get taxed as well, right? Things like your Social Security. Yes, it can get taxed. All right. And the more money you make, the more it does get taxed. There's some other videos covering that if you want to check that on our channel. But ultimately, the taxes could be a big deal here. So if you're putting all your money in pre-tax, you might want to think about diversifying how you save your money and not just be in one tax bucket, but actually be in a couple that you can utilize here, like the Roth. All right. There's also, a third bucket, which is an after-tax taxable bucket. This would be like a brokerage account where you'll pay capital gains and dividends. But again, that account has tax brackets, and one of those brackets is 0%. If you're a married couple, all right, and you make 50 grand a year, your capital gains rate is 0. So if we diversify where we save our money, maybe in all 3 of these buckets instead of just one, that could put you in a much better spot in retirement and gives you options. We're not sure what a tax code might be 10 years from now, but I think having a diversification of these accounts will probably put you in a better spot going forward. Okay, that's taxes. That's the second big thing we got to look out for. Now, the next one is taking Social Security too early. We see this happen a lot. People turn 62, they want to get their Social Security out ASAP, and they take it. Now, if you're not retired yet and you're working, you might not actually receive your Social Security here. If you make too much money, they take some of that check away from you. Okay. So you gotta be careful. If you're 62 all the way to your full retirement age, which is going to be different for everybody, it's going to be from 66 to 67, somewhere in that range. You don't really want to take Social Security if you're still working and making money, because you might not actually get it if you made too much. And when you take it early, you also permanently reduce your benefits going forward, meaning we're not going to get as high of a payment if we would have waited. So a big thing with retirees, 5-10 years before, if you take Social Security at 63 and you retire at 70, that could be a massive mistake, leaving a lot of money on the table that you maybe could have kept for yourself, could have that money grow, because Social Security, it grows by 8% a year. Every year you wait to take it. All right, that could be a large amount of money we leave on the table by taking it too early. All right, so make sure you really do the data on that and look and see what you should be doing there to make sure you take the right Social Security amount at the right age, right, for your plan and what you're doing today. And the last thing, or second to last thing here, we have risk. All right, so risk in the market. A lot of people, as they get closer to retirement, are too risky. And ultimately, what I would say is, the 3 years before and after retirement have the biggest impact on your retirement. Because if you're going to retire a year from now and the market drops and goes down 30%, that could put you in a rough spot. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are just too risky in their portfolios. They're still thinking they're in this accumulation stage, when in reality, a lot of people, as they get closer, we get more to this preservative, this income stage that's going to start after you retire. We're taking money out of our accounts. And there's something called the sequence of return risk. So what that means is if the sequence of returns are not in our favor, meaning the market might go up and then down again those first couple of years in retirement, you're much more at risk of running out of money when that happens. So in order to do this, we got to protect ourselves a little bit. And that can mean a couple of things, but maybe it means we need more bonds in the portfolio. There are annuities that can lower your risk as well, right? Like a fixed annuity or an indexed annuity. You can do some corporate bonds. You can do treasuries, right? There's also CDs that you can utilize. Okay. There's less aggressive stocks. Like there's some dividend stocks. You can still lose money in those, but they're not as aggressive going forward. So how do you lower your risk as you get closer to retirement? And it might not be all at once, but gradually it should be getting lower and lower. And some people don't do that. And all of a sudden they have, $1 million that turns into 600 grand a year before they retire. And if they're going to spend money out of that account, it might not fully recover. Because if they had 10 years to let it get back to where it was, of course, it's going to get back to $1 million and probably even go higher. But if we're taking 30, 40 grand out of there and it goes to 600, it might not get back up to where it was ever, which could lead to you running out of money in your retirement. So controlling your risk as you get close to retirement is a big one there you want to make sure you look at. And the last one here, income. So relating to risk a little bit, but now it's how do you actually take income out of your accounts going forward, right? Do you have a safety bucket, right? Because you can bucket money out. And I think ultimately, if you look at money, it should all have a job. A company with 1,000 people, all different jobs. If you got $1 million, every dollar should have its separate job that it's trying to do. There's probably categories to that, right? You probably have some money that's meant to grow. Maybe you invest in your tech stocks, the NASDAQ, S&P 500, or we're trying to grow our money for the future, right? We're not taking that money out anytime soon. You probably want a second bucket that's maybe for investments that grow a little bit differently than those growth stocks, like maybe some more cash flow investments, investments that make you some money, right? Even if the market goes down, you'll still make money there. So that could be like a bond, right? Like you earn an interest rate, a yield on that money. There's dividend stocks out there. There's options you can do that give you income. There's real estate, right? So kind of a separate category, but that might work differently than your growth, like your tech stock or S&P 500 kind of style there. Okay. And the third category, this is kind of what we would say protected. This is where your money is going to come from, your income. We want some runway. We want to know a certain amount of income, maybe for the next 10 to 15 years, is going to be there no matter what the market does. And that's where we take our money out, right? So that's our income, right? These are investments that we don't want to lose anything in. So again, like an example here, like think like a CD. CDs don't lose money, right? Also, there's EIAs. They don't lose money either, right? There's also market-linked CDs. So there's CDs, but they're tied to the market, right? Other categories there as well, but ultimately it's money that isn't going to lose money, but can still make you something, right? As cash could technically be in this category, like a money market account, right? But it's money that we can pull from and utilize where the market does go down 40%, we can still pull our income securely from that protected piece going forward. All right, so folks, hope this is helpful, going through the kind of 5 mistakes that we see people make where it's not only taking care of the income side of stuff. When we look at the risk side of stuff being too risky as I enter retirement, probably lower that risk as we get closer to it, making sure we're not taking Social Security too early, looking through taxes, and make sure we're paying the least amount of taxes possible throughout your lifetime, not just today, which means diversifying your tax buckets. And last but not least, the HSA account, most underused vehicle out there with the HSA. Definitely start doing that if you aren't doing it already going forward. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, comment below if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.